Hi, I'm Kathryn from Atlas Exercise, and today we are doing a product review of the new Wattbike Atom. So if you haven't heard of Wattbike before, it is a company based up in Nottingham in England. They have produced two Wattbikes before the Atom. The first one was the Wattbike and the second the Wattbike Pro. You may have seen these in your local gyms. They are the big red and black bikes. Generally people use them to warm up. Some people do actually use them to do Wattbike sessions, but you can measure your power, speed, cadence. They are great tools. You may also have seen the Wattbike studios that have been popping up recently, where you can do a group session all on Wattbikes and you're all able to see each other's power. So the Wattbike Atom is the first Wattbike to be made for the at-home user. So as you can see, it is a beautiful bit of kit, really stylised and a bit more simple than the kind of bulky Wattbike and Wattbike Pro. As you can see, this one does have a top tube and the full drops, which makes it more like a road bike. What we're going to be looking at with the Wattbike Atom today is the build quality, the usability of the Wattbike Atom, and the apps that you can connect to do your sessions with the Wattbike. The build quality on the Wattbike Atoms is great. Have a look at all the joins and the way that it's been built. You can tell that it is a really sturdy bit of equipment and great for at home. So I think in order to properly test the Wattbike Atom, we should probably get on it. So when you want to get onto your Wattbike, you do have to do a few little adjustments. With the saddle height, you can change it using the handle. And the handlebar height, same principle with the handle, move it up and down. The only tricky bit is you do need an Allen key to move both the saddle fore and aft and the handlebar reach. So those can be a little bit annoying that you do have to get an Allen key out, but once you've obviously set it up for yourself, then it's fine. The Wattbike does require a device to use. As you can see, we've got an iPad here. You can use a phone or any other kind of Android tablet. That perhaps is one thing that is a little bit more annoying about this new Wattbike Atom, is that with the old Wattbike and the Wattbike Pro, it did come with a built-in screen, so you could just hop on and get started, but there is a bit more usability with the new Wattbike app compared to just the screens. So I've now downloaded the app, I've set my Wattbike up and I'm ready to go. Once you turn on the Wattbike screen, you can see there's loads of different things you can do. So you've got like grand tour climbs, workouts, hit sessions, and then tests, so things like your FTP, your 3-minute test. So that is really easy to use, quite obvious where you need to go to do your workouts, or you can just ride. Once you've set it up to something like Training Peaks, it automatically syncs over, so you don't need to faff around plugging in Garmin's and trying to connect your laptop. It does it all for you on the app. But the only thing you can't do is you can't create your own custom workout. The one way to get around this is to connect it to a third-party app, so something like Zwift or Sufferfest, and then through those you can do the various workouts they have loaded onto there. So that's one way to get around the kind of little annoyance with the Wattbike app. So given the limitations with the Wattbike app, I think we should have a little look at how it works with the third-party apps. Here's Will connecting up his Zwift account to the new Wattbike Atom. It's a really simple process. You just connect it up as another device and then you are ready to ride. When you log into Zwift, you can either just ride or you can use one of the pre-made sessions that are already logged on there. The only problem is when you are just riding, the bike will automatically change the resistance, but there is a slight lag with the gears, but I will explain this later on in the video. When you are performing a session on Zwift, the Atom will automatically alter the resistance on the bike to match what your session is supposed to be. I do think it'd be quite cool if the Wattbike Atom could match some of the technology that we are seeing in some of the new turbo trainers. So things like the Wahoo, it lifts up the front when you're climbing up a hill, so I think that'd be quite cool if they could integrate that into a Wattbike just to make it that little bit better. Okay, so we've had a ride on the bike, we've set it all up, we've given it a really good try. I guess the one great thing about this bike is the ease of use. You know, if you come back in from a long day at work or it's a bit rainy on the weekends, if you set it up to yourself, you just jump on and start your session straight away. There's no setting it up, you haven't got to take your back wheel off if you're using a turbo, so that side of it is great. Another great thing is just the quality of this product. It is great. It's so sturdy. It's just, you just feel like you're sat on a proper sturdy turbo. You know how sometimes sat on a turbo, it's wobbling around. There's nothing like that with this. You are on it and it is not going to fall over. So that's another great quality about it. The bike is sweat-proof, so that is one great thing. Obviously, if you've just washed your bike or you've got your nice race bike on your turbo, you start sweating all over it. You've then got to clean it, and if you can't bother to clean it, it just ends up in a complete mess. With this one, it's completely sweat-proof, so you just wipe it down and it is good to go. Just give it a little anti-bac spray and it's fine, so it's really quick to use. I've also found that the Wattbike is actually really quiet when you're using it. I'm sure everyone can agree that when someone sat on a noisy turbo, it is the most annoying thing in the whole world if you're hearing them whirring all the time. With this thing, it is pretty damn quiet, so you haven't got to worry about if you're in like flats or in a shared house or anything like that. You're not going to be annoying any of your neighbours or your roommates, so that is another great bonus of the bike. I really also like the fact that once you've got the app set up, you can click just one of the workouts and go, the bike does it all for you. It's great. It's also with Zwift and Sufferfest. Once you set it up, it's so easy to use. You just hop on, click onto the app, and then you're good to go. There's no kind of faffing around, and it all syncs up and it goes straight onto your training peaks or any other system that you use. And then on the other hand, we do have the cons of the bike. With this being quite an expensive bit of kit, you're going to want to keep it in a garage, locked away, or in your house, and then you've got to find room for it. So obviously you've got to have a space where you can leave the Wattbike, because you can move them, but they're not the easiest things to move in the world, and they're kind of hard to wrangle around. It does have wheels, but again, it's a bit awkward moving it. So once you put it somewhere, you're going to want to keep it. So you've got to have the room to be able to leave this somewhere. So one kind of major thing that I've found whilst using the Wattbike Atom and Zwift is that there's a lag between the resistance on the pedals and you changing the gear. So it kind of makes it a bit awkward to use in that it gets harder on the pedals, you change the gear, and then by the time it's caught up with itself, the resistance has changed again, so you're in the wrong gear. This does make the gears almost unusable with Zwift. I think it's one thing that they could improve on, is making it quicker so you don't have that lag. Obviously, if you've got a hill sprint, you don't want to be waiting 3-4 seconds because you've then lost that in your session. I think it's great that you can adjust the saddle height and the handlebar height with just the handles, but if you've got to adjust the handlebar reach and the saddle fore and aft, then it's a little bit more awkward. You've got to have an Allen key. I know this is only a small thing, but to me that is a little bit more awkward, and you've obviously got to remember everyone's dimensions. So perhaps if you had the money, having two for two people would be great. Other than that, you've just got to keep an Allen key handy, and you've got to remember to change it. So overall, would I buy this? Well, you've got to look at the financials. So for me personally, I can't afford a Wattbike Atom after I've bought both my race bike and my training bike and rollers and turbo. So I've got all those things, so I'm kind of sorted. But for someone who doesn't have those things, perhaps you've just got one bike, you might have a turbo that's not very good, then I think this is definitely something to go for, especially if you don't have a power meter, because this will be the only time that you can train with power, which is something that I have found so useful now having a power meter on my bike. And the cost, $1,400, I think is pretty reasonable when you compare it to a Wahoo Kicker or a Tax Neo. You've then got to buy a bike to use for those. So I think this is actually a pretty decent deal. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you really enjoyed it. Please leave a comment. Let us know what you think. If you've used a Wattbike, whether it's Atom or one of the Wattbikes, then let us know what you think about them. We'd love to hear your comments.